Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on. Today we're looking at the Omega Speedmaster Broad Arrow 5 Counters Chronograph, part of the 2008 Olympic Timeless collection from Omega. You can see this unique edition 44mm stainless steel chronograph on our website, watchyouwant.com. Purchase it there if you like, and if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Watch You Want Inc. Now you can see on my wrist 16 centimeters, 6 1/3 inches in circumference. The 44 1/4 millimeter case of this watch has an impressive stance. Now, it's 44 1/4 across the round portion of the case. From lug to lug, it measures 50 millimeters, so it's got a broad stance as well as a broad span on the wrist. Now, it is nice and thick, 16.5 millimeters. You can see with the cantilevered tachometer bezel, this one's not going to fit under a tighter dress, cuff, or tight sleeve, but the bottom line is it is an overtly sporting style. 100 meters water resistant with the quintessential sportsman's complication, a chronograph. While the Omega Olympic watches traditionally have distinctive aesthetic, this one actually takes a step beyond by incorporating a unique movement and display of chronograph timing capability. But I want to talk about the fit because that comes first, and ergonomics will ultimately determine whether or not this watch is for you. Now, you've seen the watch on my wrist, but what I want to emphasize is just how flexible this bracelet is. Now, the case has an immense footprint such that from the end of the rigid portion of the conforming end link to the opposite end, we're actually talking about 56 millimeters of span. You can see it extends beyond the edge of the lugs. So if your wrist is exceptionally narrow, there may be a matter of style to consider. Do you like having a watch that truly does fill every square millimeter of your wrist surface? If you do, this is actually on par with something like a 44 millimeter Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore or a Rolex Deep Sea 44. It's that big. It is that thick, and it has that kind of heft. What's nice, though, is that the bracelet's flexible to bend around the tight curve of a smaller wrist, and it provides ample weighting such that with this fully milled out single swing arm twin trigger deployant clasp, the watch is nicely counterweighted top to bottom. It has a bit of a keel, so to speak, so although heavy, it doesn't want to capsize on your wrist. Now, the watch is nicely balanced, and it's also nicely set thanks to this wonderfully supple 3-link bracelet. You can see that from the 1990s 5-link SMP design, the Seamaster Professional pioneered on the Bond watch, Omega maintained the souplesse of that design, but moved towards more of a 3-link Rolex-style, somewhat oyster bracelet reminiscent design on the more modern sports references. But they're still paired with an outstanding, fully milled out, single swing arm, twin trigger deployant with a brushed surface and inset Omega logo, corporate marquee, and Speedmaster script. I should mention that it's just as solid as you remember from the 90s. It's just a little slicker in finish and function. But the 2008 Olympic Timeless collection was headlined by a watch featuring the image of the interlocked Olympic rings incorporated into a unique chronograph function as well as a calendar mechanism, the likes of which no other Omega watch bears. You can see the 5 registers. It is the 5-counter chronograph, but not all of them are chronograph registers. Constant seconds at 9 o'clock. You actually have a day indication at center. So with the date and the day indication, this watch is also a day date. Where the chronograph sets itself apart is in the incorporation of a 7-day register right next to constant seconds. So you have constant chronograph seconds, constant seconds, you have minutes, you have hours, and then you have a 7-day counter. So you actually have 4 unique registers for this chronograph. And if you do want to run it over the long term, you're going to be glad that you have the Omega Caliber 3888 Co-Axial chronometer movement inside. A COSC rated Swiss chronometer, it has a vertical clutch mechanism such that you can run the chronograph continuously with no hazard to the movement. Now, with a lateral clutch where you have the meshing of many independent wheels, you don't want to leave that running continuously. If you're going to put a register that spans an entire week on a chronograph, you may as well equip it with a movement to suit, and this watch has that. Again, thanks to the vertical clutch, you also have smooth, stagger-free stoppage. You have a chronograph movement that starts without a jump, and when you do reset it, it resets precisely to the index at 12 as well as on all the sub-registers. Now there's a beautiful matte black dial on top of that 3888 automatic chronograph movement. The matte contrasts nicely with the vintage style Omega marquee and corporate name. What you're looking at is actually an homage to the classic Omega stopwatches of the 1930s. Omega has been the official timer of the Olympics on and off since 1932. For that first go-around, at the 1932 Los Angeles Olympics, it was this very font, this very script, this very logo style that was used on the pocket watch timing devices of the era. Now there's a beautiful applied set of hour indices inboard of a wonderful metallic brushed minute track. So the dial has real character, and I like the contrast between the polished and brushed metallic elements and the matte of the dial base itself. The movement features 52 hours of autonomy, so if you do want to run the chronograph long term, if it is off your wrist for 24 hours, you've still got enough mainspring barrel wind that you don't have to worry about it running down. Ideal for a chronograph designed to time intervals as small as fractions of a second or as large as a week at a time. Now this watch also features all the standard chronometer refinements you find in other Omega movements of that type, including hacking seconds and a quick set date. But the combination of the 4-register chronograph, the 5-counter dial, the Olympic style and limited edition status, as well as the use and honestly practicality of a day-date function set this watch apart. Mechanically unique, aesthetically distinctive, rare, the watch is also remarkably useful and versatile. You can see this Omega Speedmaster Broad Arrow 5 counters chronograph 2008 Beijing Special Edition on our website, watchyouwant.com.